The empire of corruption. The rain falls softly tonight, tapping against my window like it's trying to confess something. My father always said, "A lion does not eat grass." And I believed him. I didn't know lions could choke on their own kill. By day, my father was Honorable Chief Senator, a man whose titles are longer than his legacy. Cameras flash when he arrives, his robes flowing like a flag of power. Security men push the crowd aside as he waves, smiling for the people whose future he's already sold. By night, the mask drops. His convoy snakes through the city like a serpent of tinted SUVs, engines growling through the humid, dense air. At the club, bottles pop before he even sits. He doesn't dance. He buys the dance floor. DJs call his name between every track, girls giggle at every joke, and his aides slip crisp bundles of naira into outstretched hands. He owns mansions in Banana Island, a villa in Dubai, and a mistress in every major city. His wardrobe is imported, Italian suits, gold-threaded caftans, diamond-studded wristwatches. His perfume alone could pay a teacher's salary for a year. Every corner of his house glitters marble floors, chandeliers heavy enough to crush a conscience, and imported cars parked like trophies of greed. When he travels, airports bend for him. Immigration officers salute. His passport carries invisible ink, the kind that erases accountability. He claims to serve the people, yet he cannot stand among them. He builds roads that wash away in the first rain, hospitals that run without medicine, schools that exist only on paper. Still, he smiles on TV, promising better days ahead. In private, him and his friends laugh, swirling at a glass of cognac as they toast to impunity. The people whisper his name in frustration, but he is untouchable. When an investigation begins, he crosses over to the ruling party, a ritual of cleansing that always works. His sins dissolve in new colors of party flags. Yet in the quiet hours of dawn, when the city sleeps and his mansion grows too silent, he sometimes stares at his reflection. Behind the gold glasses and fat cheeks, a ghost stares back, the ghost of promises broken, of a nation bled dry. My father lives in obscene luxury built on public suffering. He rides in convoys of black SUVs, sleeps in mansions bought with stolen funds, and dines under chandeliers while hospitals crumble and schools decay. He travels abroad for medical care, sends his children to foreign universities, and preaches patriotism to those trapped in poverty. His power shields him from justice, his wealth silences critics. In public, he promises change. In private, he sells it. My mother, she lives in extravagant comfort funded by stolen wealth. She hosts charity foundations that never reach the poor, flaunts designer clothes, designer handbags and diamonds bought in London at events, and flies abroad for shopping sprees and cosmetic treatments. Shielded by her husband's power, she measures worth by luxury, not legacy. While the nation struggles, she smiles for the cameras, the elegant face of a rotting empire, in a world wrapped in luxury and illusion. Her walk-in closet is a boutique of the world's most expensive brands, Gucci, Chanel, Hermes, each outfit worn once for the cameras. Jewelry boxes overflow with diamonds that could rebuild a hospital wing. Her days begin with breakfast served by staff in silk uniforms and end beneath chandeliers that could light an entire village. She wears gowns flown in from Paris, carries handbags worth a civil servant's yearly salary, and changes cars the way others change shoes. In public, she smiles gracefully beside her husband, playing the role of the supportive, charitable madam. She runs foundations that promise empowerment but serve as fronts for laundering her husband's stolen wealth. Cameras adore her, the people endure her. She spends weekends in Dubai or London, shopping with other first ladies, while hospitals at home lack beds and roads crack under neglect. Her children know nothing of scarcity, and her home is guarded not by love, but by fear and protocol. Behind the makeup and marble walls, she hides the truth, that her comfort is built on the suffering of others, and her elegance is a mirror for a nation's decay. We the children live in privilege we did not earn. Our rooms are miniature kingdoms, gaming consoles, designer furniture, and walls lined with photos from holidays in Paris, London, and Dubai. We fly private jets to study abroad, our tuition fees drawn from security votes. We drive luxury cars and flaunt wealth on social media while preaching humility. Disconnected from the nation our family exploits, we inherit arrogance instead of values, heirs to stolen comfort, blind to the suffering beneath our father's power. My house is a monument to excess, a palace built on stolen dreams. Marble floors gleam beneath imported chandeliers that could pay a village's yearly budget. Every room breathes luxury. Italian leather sofas, gold-trimmed mirrors, and Persian rugs soft enough to forget the rough roads outside. Air conditioners hum in every corner, even in rooms no one enters. Our garage is a showroom, Rolls-Royce, Bentley, Range Rover, all with customized plates that spell arrogance. The swimming pool glows at night, blue and perfect, while the taps in his constituency run dry. In the kitchen, foreign chefs prepare meals the poor cannot pronounce. The dining table stretches endlessly, laid with silver cutlery and wines from France, while the nation outside survives on water and prayers. Even the air smells of wealth, imported fragrance, and quiet corruption. Yet, beneath all that glitter lies rot, fear, emptiness, and the unspoken knowledge that our fortune was stolen from the nation's future. The house shines, but it shines on the graves of broken promises. In the society, the decay is everywhere, loud, visible, and shameless. The roads are death traps, cracked and flooded, swallowing cars and hope alike. Each rainy season turns highways into rivers, and yet every year billions are budgeted for repairs that never come. Streetlights stand like blind sentinels, long dead, watching silent processions of broken vehicles and weary pedestrians trudging through mud. Hospitals are worse, crumbling walls, rusted beds, and nurses forced to beg for gloves. Patients lie on bare floors, clinging to life, premature death, while politicians fly abroad for the smallest headache. The smell of disinfectant mixes with despair, and power cuts plunge operating rooms into darkness mid-surgery. Electricity itself is a national ghost, promised daily, delivered rarely. Generators roar in every home and business, burning money and choking the air with fumes. Yet the same leaders who failed to provide power own shares in companies selling darkness at a profit. And through it all, the people endure. Children study by candlelight. Traders count coins beneath flickering bulbs. Hunger hides behind smiles, and frustration wears the mask of faith. This is the inheritance of corruption, a nation where the few feasts on gold while the many chokes on dust. As an heir of corruption, I had a bottle in every club, girls in every corner, police escorts clearing traffic like Moses parting the Red Sea. My father's signature could build a bridge or bury a scandal, and I was his shadow, a spoiled echo of his power. I was used to red carpets and bowed heads. Policemen saluted me, waiters rushed to serve me, and my father's name opened every door. I arrived in U.S. wrapped in arrogance, a product of privilege and unchecked power. Here, in this new world, no one cared who my father was. At the university, professors called me by my first name. Classmates debated with me freely, even disagreed, and no one feared the consequences. I realized quickly that money couldn't buy respect here. I had to earn it. When I failed a test, no one could call someone to fix it. I began to taste humility, bitter, raw, and strangely liberating. I saw how false my father's empire had been. Power without principle, wealth without worth. That respect is earned, not inherited, and that in a world where laws truly work, every man stands equal before them. Eventually, I managed to graduate from university. I had been hired at a corporate firm through a connection of my father's friend, the kind of favor that had always come easily. But here, favors didn't last long when performance failed to follow. On my first day, I wore a designer suit and dark shades, calling everyone boss and madam like it was back home. I expected a personal assistant, an office with air conditioning that smelled of power, maybe even people standing when I entered. Instead, I was handed a laptop, a headset, and told, "You'll sit with the others." The culture shock hit fast. Meetings started exactly on time, not a minute late. Colleagues challenged my ideas openly. Even interns corrected my work. Once, I raised my voice at a coworker for disrespect, and HR called me in for a conversation about professionalism. I didn't understand why no one cared about my father's title. Emails piled up unanswered because I couldn't type properly. Reports went back full of red marks. I couldn't grasp why I had to justify every expense or earn every promotion. Back home, all it took was a call. It was the end of Q2, and the deadline for the software integration project had arrived. The task was simple enough: migrate client data from a legacy system to the company's new cloud platform and generate a final analytics dashboard. For a competent analyst, it was routine. But for me, it was a ticking time bomb. From the start, I treated the job like a formality. Meetings bored me, technical terms confused me. I nodded through explanations of data schemas and API endpoints as if pretending to understand would make it true. When teammates asked for updates, I brushed them off with lines like, "Relax, I'll get it done. I've handled bigger projects back home." But back home, projects were things others completed for me, contracts signed, not skills earned. When it came time to actually perform, everything fell apart. My data migration scripts failed repeatedly because I hadn't followed the protocol. Instead of debugging, I outsourced the work secretly to a freelance coder online, which compromised the integrity and security of the data. During testing, the system crashed, wiping out several gigabytes of client data. The report that was supposed to be automated had to be built manually overnight by my exhausted teammates. The client presentation was a disaster: graphs missing, metrics wrong, dashboards showing errors where numbers should have been. By the next morning, a chain of emails had reached senior management. The company had lost the account. My name was on every audit log tied to the failure. When my manager called me in, the room felt smaller than usual. She didn't raise her voice. She simply slid the incident report across the table and said, "You were responsible for the deliverable. You missed every milestone. We cannot continue like this." I tried to explain the Wi-Fi was slow, the system wasn't configured, the client changed specs, but no excuse survived her calm stare. That afternoon, my corporate account was deactivated. My badge stopped working. I packed up my desk quietly while others worked around me. The same team that once tolerated my arrogance now avoided eye contact. Outside, the city buzzed with life, efficient, unforgiving, indifferent. I began to realize that power meant nothing without competence. In this world, there were no shortcuts, no father to call a minister. When the weight of failure finally broke through my pride, the last of my savings was nearly gone, my rent was overdue, and the friends who once partied with me had stopped picking my calls. Defeated, I decided it was time to go home. At least at home, I'm somebody. I imagined the warm sun, the mansions, the drivers, the house staff, the old comfort of being untouchable. My father would surely take me back in, pull some strings, restore my dignity. I booked a flight online, heart pounding with a strange mix of shame and relief. Then, on a whim, I typed my family's name into Google, something I hadn't done in months. What I saw froze me. Government seizes assets of former senator. Court orders confiscation of properties linked to corruption scandal. My family under investigation by new anti-graft regime. My father's face filled the screen, thinner, older, standing between two stern-looking officers. My mother's charity foundation had been exposed as a laundering front. My siblings' accounts were frozen. The mansions in Banana Island were now government properties. I scrolled through the comments, each one slicing deeper than the last. They thought the country belonged to them. Justice at last. May every thief face the same fate. I felt a chill that had nothing to do with the weather. The same name that once opened doors now slammed them shut. If I returned, I wouldn't be Chief's son. I'd be the fugitive's boy. Panic spread through me. I called home, no one picked up. I tried my father's lawyer, the line was disconnected. The last message from my mother was months old. Be careful what you post online. Things are changing here. For the first time, I realized there was no home to return to. The empire of corruption that had built my life had crumbled, and without it, I was nothing. The prince of a broken kingdom, exiled not by war, but by justice. I never imagined life could fall this far. Months after losing my corporate job, the politician's son, once chauffeured through in a bulletproof SUV, now stood in a neon vest, sweeping platforms in the underground. The job wasn't glamorous, but it was all I could find without experience or references. My father's name, once a golden key, had become a stain. At first I told myself it was temporary. I'd work for a bit, save up, get back on my feet. But the humiliation was suffocating. Every morning, as trains roared past and commuters hurried by without a glance, I felt the sting of invisibility. Nobody cared who I was. Here, I was just another worker cleaning up after strangers. But old habits die hard. My appetite for luxury, the one thing I had inherited from my father, refused to die with my status. I spent half my paycheck on designer sneakers, the other half on expensive colognes and dinners I couldn't afford. I couldn't stand to look ordinary. Soon the bills piled up. I missed rent once, then twice. My landlord, a kind man who had warned me gently, finally asked me to leave. With nowhere to go, I dragged my suitcase through the city that no longer recognized me, searching for shelter. I slept in hostels at first, then on couches of acquaintances who grew tired of my pride and excuses. The final blow came one rainy night when I found himself at the entrance of a homeless shelter, clutching a soaked designer jacket that smelled faintly of my former life. Inside, the fluorescent lights buzzed. People shared tea, stories, silence. For the first time, I had nothing to prove and nothing left to hide behind. Sometimes, as I swept the subway floor in the mornings, I'd see my reflection in the train windows, a man stripped of everything but regret. I'd remember the marble floors of my father's mansion, the servants, the laughter, the arrogance, and realize how quickly it had all vanished. I had traded purpose for pretense, and in the end, even pretense couldn't pay the rent. Now, beneath the hum of trains and the echo of footsteps, I worked quietly, namelessly, a fallen prince of corruption, learning too late that luxury without discipline always ends in poverty. If you liked the video, please like, subscribe, follow, and share. Thank you.